This is interesting because it's more and more and more and more cases happening. There's a case in which a particular woman, Celia Tan, after 15 years of spiteful wrangling with her neighbour, the couple next door, Celia Tan has had her claim thrown out and must pay their legal bills of £150,000. This is a woman. This was a 15-year dispute over guttering and a boundary. Even the judge is saying is exasperated. This is Celia Tan took neighbours Robert and Helena Flack to court over claims that the couple's gutters dumped rainwater onto her garden in West London. It's racked up to £150,000. The judge threw it out, but guess what? It continues because this woman has vowed to appeal the ruling to the British High Court. More and more and more of these neighbourly disputes are ending up tying up the courts, costing a shed load of money, and it seems like people want to be right rather than get on with their lives. How frustrating is this? And there seems to be an increase in it going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy litigious behaviour. And I mean, I think if anyone's listened to these last 70 or 80 episodes of your show where I've appeared over the last couple of years and taken away anything from that, it might be the following three things. Don't lie on forms. It has consequences. Never tweet when you're angry, and never, ever, ever get involved in a neighbour dispute. These territorial instincts, they kick in, and just, you see it. I've seen it in my professional work. My brother Liam has had cases, and it's just people seem to lose all sense of reason. And not everyone's like that, but if one party is like that, even if the other party is reasonable, the whole thing, you just said it, 15 years. 150 grand. It's what Noel Edmonds would call a life-changing amount of money, and in this particular case, I think there are consequences as far as courts getting backed up and all of that type of stuff. And really the primary victims in this were the protagonist, the claimant and the defendant themselves. Celia Tan, the claimant, I mean, she's just, in the words of the judge, indescribable silliness in her approach and psychologically incapable of acting reasonably. It just really doesn't leave much to the imagination. And her neighbours, the Flacks, there were moments where the judge said, you could have behaved better. You shouldn't have let your daughter drum in the extension because it really was going to aggravate your neighbour and you knew there was already a problem. But this Mrs. Tan really just seemed to be in this, you see it, people get locked into this obsessive and really kind of sad mission with an inevitable negative result. I mean, this is life savings for people. And I think these cases, they're just immensely sad. There's something about our territorial instincts. I'm not particularly like this, but I do get it. And I see it in people, and it's just, it's a bit like when people are in their cars and they're distant from each other. And then all of a sudden, because there's that barrier of the window between them and the other person, all of a sudden that, it kind of promotes the possibility of antagonism. I just, these cases are horrible. And I have to say, you'll never stop them because somebody like this on a mission, it's like a psychological phenomenon that affects some of us. And it does take two to tango a little bit. But when people like this get locked in, we've talked about these cases before. People at home, have a cup of tea with your neighbours. Please don't get in this situation. If it looks like you might be, just move.
Exactly. I mean, you spend 15 years and if she wins, if somebody wins, they might win an inch moving their fence around. Yes, I won. I only spent 150,000 to move my fence half an inch. Hey, Joseph, thank you so much for today. Joseph Kotrie Monson with our roundup of what's happening in the courts.